Well, hello everyone, hope you're all doing okay. Now, the art of seeing a picture starts before you even pick up a camera. I've mentioned this theory already in this series of videos, and this can be practiced anytime, anywhere, as you go about your day. The more you practice framing up the world virtually, the better you'll get at it, just like many things in life. Now, being accustomed to doing this will help you when you arrive on location to shoot your chosen landscape or scene. But even here, any practice you may have done still won't guarantee you a picture, at least not without some extra effort and a clear vision. There's still lots of factors to take into account, but thankfully there are a few tools you can use to fine-tune this practice and therefore reward yourself with the perfect end result. Knowing exactly what format, the best format to shoot in, is a skill all of its own. Channeling your vision to one particular format then is a way of filtering out all the other options until you only see the world in this one shape. It's a bit like putting on a pair of special glasses that only allow you to view the world in square format, for instance. Once you start forcing yourself to see in one particular format only, then it's amazing how the world opens up to you in this field of view. Now, I often do this, shooting in one format, simply because it can be too confusing sometimes to consider every option at once. So putting on those glasses, the virtual ones of course, to only see square format say, will force you to see in this shape. So think panoramic and you will naturally start to see those views that are ideal for this more letterbox shaped frame too. I actually put this theory into practice in the last lockdown and set my camera to the 16:9 format and only took pictures on my morning walks with this framing. It was like looking at my hometown for the very first time again. Views I may have easily ignored before became potential shots in this semi-panoramic filmic view. I ignored the standard 4:3 format of my Olympus cameras. I forgot all about my favourite square format. Instead, I restricted my vision to only 16:9, horizontal and vertical, and the fresh perspective was a revelation. Now, of course, these glasses I mentioned don't actually exist, which is a shame actually, but with the advancement in mirrorless technology in our cameras, this vision, this way of seeing, has become a whole lot easier to do. We can now set our cameras to these formats and see the shape they create on our LCD screens or even in the viewfinder with mirrorless cameras, and it really helps you to visualize the world this way. However, even this can be practiced and perfected without a camera to hand or without even getting the camera out of the bag first. I always keep a black mask in my camera bag to help me frame up a scene. The one I use the most is a 3:1 frame for the perfect shaped panoramic. It can be hard to visualize the ideal panoramic view, especially now that we have to stitch multiple images together with digital to create these. The one I use is actually a piece of mounting card originally intended for mounting Hasselblad X-Pan film transparencies into. I never actually owned an X-Pan camera, but would instead use these to crop down my 6:7 transparencies to this X-Pan panoramic format for submitting to magazines. This was before I fully fell in love with this format and ended up with me buying myself the purpose-made Fuji GX617 Pano camera. This camera itself was amazing, not only for the images it could produce, but also because it used a separate viewfinder to help you frame up your shots with. The beauty of that was that you could detach it from the camera and walk around with it in your hand up to your eye and use it to compose your potential compositions with. Sadly, I don't own this camera anymore, and boy do I regret selling it. And of course now only trendy YouTubers shoot with these amazing beasts of the camera world. But of course you don't need one of these viewfinders, one of these cameras to help you search for your perfect panoramic compositions. No, you just need one of these. This is the Viewcatcher, not a dream capture, that's something entirely different, but it's a wonderful tool to help you compose a shot or decide on a format to shoot in. Unlike the Fuji viewfinder or even my X-Pan black card mask, it's multi-format too. You can use it to compose 3:2 views, 4:3, 5:4, 16:9, square, or even 3:21 panoramic. Well, no, not those. You could compose those long, skinny panos with one, but you never should. Dreadful things. It's actually only marked up for A4 size, as it's meant for artists to use really. But it's easy to mark up yourself to create a mask in your favourite format, as you just slide the moving panel to create the mask or frame that you want. So if you want to accurately mark a 16:9 ratio frame, for instance, just take the basic 5cm width measurement here, open up one of your images on the computer in Photoshop, get Photoshop to crop this image to the 16:9 ratio, then resize this new cropped so the longest side is 5cm. Note the centimetre measurement now for the short side, and this you can now transfer and mark onto the Viewcatcher. Simple! And of course, with this being 5cm width as default, a 5x4 frame is simple to mark too. On location then, you can use this gadget to frame and compose the view without even getting your camera out of your bag, even if you do shoot mirrorless. Just move the panel to your chosen format and hold it up to your eye. And if you're not sure which focal length to use, just hold it closer or further away from your eye to decide. Closer for wide angle, further away for telephoto. You'll soon get used to what distance position equates to which focal length you're seeing. And then when you do get your camera out of the bag, you'll know exactly what format to set your camera to shoot in and also what lens to select to create that perfect composition. It's a great practice tool as well, as I say, easier than getting your camera out or for when you don't even have your camera with you. Just carry this around in your pocket and start framing up the world to practice. You can of course just use your camera when available, if you shoot mirrorless, set to your chosen format and walk around with this up to your eye as normal. Either way then, this is something I really encourage you to do if you're shooting on a tripod, for instance, in the landscape. Walk around the scene with your camera or this viewer and try different views and formats before setting up your tripod in the perfect spot. Visualize how the scene looks when you crouch down or as you move the viewer away from your eye to remove distractions. Flick it the other way to visualize the vertical composition instead. Once you find the format you like then, the one that appeals to you most for that shot, try leaving your camera in this setting and perhaps spend the rest of the day shooting like this. Leave it set to 16:9 or 1:1 square format and restrict yourself to only shooting this way. This will train you to be able to see the world this way naturally, unaided, and you'll find new shots that you may never have thought of before. The world looks amazing in square format, for instance, just as it does in black and white, but both can be hard to visualize without some assistance. Our cameras can be set to black and white to help us visualize and identify how tones and shapes in a scene will affect an end black and white result. And with this mask, the square view or 4x5 view of the world becomes easier to visualize too, to shoot in camera, out on location, and not just cropped later in Lightroom on a whim. This little bit of plastic could transform your photography then, change the way you see the world, literally, and help you become a master at identifying formats. Because that 3x2 full frame 35mm by 24mm format is not always the perfect choice. You can get one of these from Amazon or from any good artist supply shops for less than a tenner. Get yourself one. It's my recommendation of the week. Well, that's the end of this series of videos, a series I called The Art of Photography. I hope you've enjoyed them. It was something a bit different for me to put out while stuck in the latest lockdown. So what's next from me? Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe some more snapshot videos on location that I started last year. But then again, maybe this is the end of the YouTube journey for me. Maybe I've taken this as far as I can now. There'll be plenty more videos for me, but maybe just not here. You'll know by now, without me mentioning it, where you can find those, plus all the other content I produce. So until next time, whenever that is, I'll see you.